Hi, I'm Morse, the founder of Core Elements Training. In this short video, I'm going to demonstrate application of heavier pressure massage techniques, which are really useful for helping to apply additional pressure to the muscle tissue in order to help to reduce some of that hypertonicity and increase that localized blood flow whilst increasing range of motion at the associated joints. So with our heavier pressures, we can use the knuckles and we can also use the forearms. We can, if we're depending on the area of the body that we're working on as well, we can use the elbow to also apply a heavier pressure. This way, using the different parts of the body, it takes the pressure off your hands, and it also helps to keep the weight distribution as you're moving up the back of the limb more evenly spread as well. So when we're applying those heavier pressures, we need to make sure that we've pre-warmed the area first with our effleurage and our petrissage techniques. So I'm just going to apply some of massage medium to the area. So whilst we're doing knuckling and application of forearm, we're still using that medium. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of effleurage, covering the whole of the back of the leg, helping to apply that massage medium and helping to pre-warm the area. So within our treatment, we'd spend a little bit more time doing our effleurage and our petrissage techniques first. Then when we want to start coming in with those heavier pressures, we can either decide whether we're going to use the forearm first or we're going to use those knuckles first. If we're applying the knuckles in the direction of the blood flow and the muscle fibers, we then need to decide how we're going to position the hands. So we want to keep the wrist straight, so we're not putting the wrist under any pressure as we're applying our body weight behind it. So we would use the top part of the fingers here. We're then going to apply the knuckles. Sometimes people like to use the thumb out to the side to use that as a guide as they're moving the knuckles up the area. If you do that, just make sure that you're not pulling on the thumb here because we don't want to damage any of the joints there. Otherwise, we can tuck the thumb into behind the fingers, so it's out of the way, or you can then put the thumb around the top of the fingers here. I tend to just find it more naturally comfortable to tuck my thumb in. But it's up to you where you're going to position that. You then also can support the wrist, especially when you're new to knuckling, and that helps to keep that wrist in that nice straight position. Then from here, we're then moving the knuckles up the lower leg. So the pressure is on as I'm coming up towards the back of the knee, pressure off as I come down. So pressure on and off as I come back down. So in this instance, I'm working in the direction of that lymphatic flow and direction of blood flow. So I'm applying the pressure and then I'm reducing the pressure. I'm transferring the body weight as well between both of my feet. So I'm just going to move that hand out the way so that you can see. So my wrist is straight and I'm working up towards the back of the knee. Making sure that you're asking your client for feedback on the pressure as well. So whenever you start to apply heavier pressures, then ask the client for feedback. How's that pressure feel, Katie?
Yeah, feels medium.
Okay, good. So in those hamstrings as well, again, I'm coming up towards that origin of the hamstring and I'm covering the whole of the area. Now the hamstrings are that nice broad muscle group. So we could use the knuckles to be more targeted on specific areas of tension, or we could use the forearm here as well. So with the forearm, and we can either use the bottom of the forearm or side of the forearm. At first as well, it feels quite nice to support or to reinforce the forearm as you apply the pressure. That then helps to stabilize your shoulder joint as you apply the pressure here. So in these nicer broad muscles, then we can use that forearm as if we're still working in the direction of the lymphatic flow and the circulation. So I've got the pressure on as I'm coming up, and then I'm reducing the pressure as I'm coming back down with my technique. So pressure on and off. And again, I'm transferring my body weight between my back and my front foot to try and keep that pressure even as we're applying that technique. How's that pressure feel, Katie?
Yeah, good with you.
Okay, good. And we can switch between those two techniques. So we might start with forearms first and then move into the knuckling technique, reinforcing at the wrist where you find more targeted tension. We can also use that forearm technique on the gastrocnemius and soleus as well. Again, reinforcing when you're applying that pressure. How's that pressure feel?
Yeah, good.
So just adjusting that forearm position so that you're covering the whole of that muscle group. And again, you might start with forearm, and then when you're identifying where that more targeted tension is, then you can move into knuckles. And you could also work up the whole of the back of the leg. As you go over the back of the knee, you're reducing your pressure and then coming all the way back down. So pressure on, reduce the pressure over the back of the knee, and pressure on again. And then we could also do that with our knuckling technique. Again, reducing that pressure over the back of the knee. So I'm just going to remove that hand so that you can see a bit more easily. And then once you've applied those heavier pressures, then we would then follow up again with effleurage to flush that area. Okay, so that was a demonstration of using the knuckles and using the forearm for application of heavier pressures on the back of the leg to include the region of the soleus, gastrocnemius and the hamstrings muscle group. These are techniques covered within our Level 4 Sports and Remedial Massage Diploma, and if you'd like to find out more, then please visit our website at www.coreelements.uk.com. Thank you.